Good morning, steemit. Facebook, Reddit, YouTube, Vote, MySpace, Friendster, AOL dial-up. Yeah, I've been around the internet a long time. I know all the stuffs. So I had a lively debate with my cousin Chad last night on Discord. He does IT too, and he was saying, certs have value, I guess was his main argument. So, I guess he took a cert class that he found valuable, and that's great. And I'm sure there are classes out there that are valuable. He said his was particularly hands-on. So, you know what? Honestly, if the class is hands-on enough, it probably does have some value. I didn't learn everything I know in a vacuum. You know what I mean? I had some great mentors and tutors and stuff along the way. So I'm not trying to claim, you literally have to stumble through Google on your own to learn anything. That's certainly not what I'm advocating either. Although that was part of his argument against what I was saying last night. That son of a bitch. You straw manning son of a bitch, Chad. But, alright, so there's probably some certs out there that have some value, I guess, Chad, for you. Good for you. That's probably true for other people as well. Sometimes taking a class can be helpful. I just find that, in general, for me, most of the classes that I've taken in my life, from kindergarten up through college and up into getting networking certs or whatever, haven't been that valuable unless it's applied knowledge, unless it's hands-on, I teach violin, right? But in my violin classes, they have their violin right there. They're playing the violin, you know what I mean? And aiming towards having some kind of recital or something, and there's something where it's like they're going to actually have to play the piece in front of people, and get, all the way hands-on with it. So that's the deal, right? Yeah, so I don't know. For me, still, if somebody's trying to brag about their certs during a job interview, I'm gonna bend that resume. I don't want to hear about it. I want to hear about, the actual experience they have doing the actual work. If they're fresh out of college and they got these certs and that's all they got, and they're coming into an entry-level position, fine, right? Obviously that's great. That's everything they can do. You can't expect somebody who's 20 to come in with 10 years of, high-level networking experience, in general. That's going to be the rare 20-year-old, right? But at the same time, they shouldn't be asking to get paid as much or expecting you to get paid as much as, somebody who's in their late 30s, early 40s and has been doing it for 15, 20 years, you know what I mean? So, and in general, that's, who I would prefer to hire, and that's just true in general anyway, I find that, people in their 30s are a little bit more serious about showing up to work, for example. I don't want to be ageist. There's people in their 20s who show up to work too, but there's a lot of people in their 20s who don't want to work. There's a lot of people in their 70s who don't want to work, but by then some of the not wanting to work has got beat out of them, right? And they know they got to show up on time with a good attitude and do the work. So I don't know. I guess I was looking at it more from a hiring perspective, and what drives me nuts about the whole certs thing is, a lot of times HR people will be, they got this cert, they got this cert, they got, all these certs that are exactly what we're looking for. And, a lot of the times the applicants, they might have those certs, they might have actually taken those classes, they might have faked it too. Some of these certs aren't exactly, is that diploma real? Are you going to actually go and call Cisco and check their cert license number and stuff like that? I guess some HR people are going to do their due diligence like that, but, for me, the due diligence is okay, just because they have the cert doesn't mean they're actually the best candidate for that job. You know what I mean? If they've never done that kind of work before, that cert's not gonna, prove that they know anything, right? Anyway, enough about certs. I enjoyed the debate, Chad. Even though I think on some levels we might fundamentally disagree, I'm sure that there are some certs that have some value for some people. I guess my issue is HR people looking at certs and then hiring based on that when there's, potentially a candidate who might be better, who has actually done the work and may not have a cert. I guess that's my problem, which I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot of HR people, asking about a cert during an interview or something, and, the HR person doesn't know anything, not about IT, you know what I mean? They usually don't, Yeah, you got a CCNA? Oh, great, you're exactly who we're looking for. It's like, okay, so now ask them a real question, ask them any networking question at all. I was in an interview, I don't know, this must have been 5-6 years ago, and they asked me, what did they ask me? Yeah, they asked me if I knew about TSP. And I was like, TSP? And I thought for a minute, years ago when I was doing construction, there was something we called TSP, I believe, that was some kind of a liquid for cleaning or prepping a surface before you paint or something. I think it was called TSP. And I was like, so I started asking the HR person, I'm like, TSP, like the stuff you use to prep surfaces before you paint or sand or whatever in construction, And she goes, no, this is an IT thing. And anyway, long story short, I figured out, 10-15 minutes later into the interview that she meant TCP/IP. She was asking me if I knew TCP/IP, but she didn't even know, to call it TCP/IP. She was asking me if I knew TSP. So, and that's just a typical example of like, you can't. You got to have a good HR team, and I've worked with some really great HR people in the past, so I'm not saying all HR people are totally worthless or anything. That's certainly not the case I'm making here, but I've just seen a lot of HR people ask about certs, have no depth of understanding about, other stuff, and then just hire somebody based on a cert, and then, that person's, worthless. Or not hire somebody based on a cert, and I watch that candidate leave and go, hey, bring him back, oh my God, that's the guy we need, And it's like, I've just seen it before. So that's my problem with certs, okay? It's not that I have a problem with people taking a class, and I'm not saying that if they took the class, they didn't learn anything. I'm sure that people take classes and learn things, and I'm sure that some of those classes have value, okay, Chad, all right? But at least in the hiring process, there's been a lot of times where I've seen a cert or not having a cert or whatever be a huge barrier to hiring somebody great, and instead the team I was on ended up hiring somebody lame because they had a cert that, at the end of the day wasn't very valuable. And I guess that's my problem with certs is when, candidates come in, oh, I got the MTCNA, I got the CCNA, I got all these, certs, and they want to talk about their certs. I want to hear about, real work they've done, you know what I mean? Like, have they built a data center from the ground up, you know what I mean? What did they do at their last job, Because if their last job, Chad brought up the best example. He's, somebody came from, the Amazon help desk bubble and didn't know anything, you know what I mean? And it's like, okay, sure, but, how many people came from the Amazon help desk bubble and also had like 5 certs and didn't know anything? Because I've seen it out in the wild plenty of times, so, yeah. He's talking about Cisco, too. I just can't justify Cisco, I'm sorry, they're overpriced. They're just overpriced. For any Cisco device you show me, I can find you 2 or 3 competitors where you're getting better performance, lower costs, so, Cisco's alright. Sure, I've seen Cisco devices in the wild that were, that have been up for 10, 20 years without issue, but that's networking hardware, that's most networking hardware. I've seen switches and routers of, 10 different brands that have just been sitting there working for, you know, a decade with no issue. So it's like, you know, those devices generally shouldn't be under a lot of heat, a lot of stress, whatever. So I don't know. I don't really like the Cisco syntax either, you know. It's like, it's one of those typical things where it's been around for 20 years, so it's you know, kind of long in the tooth, that sort of thing, right? So let's talk about crypto today. All the currencies are completely exactly where they were yesterday that I looked at. You know, there's 500 or more altcoins at this point, so, you know, I'm sure some went up and some went down, but it seems like there's just a really strong support for Bitcoin at 2,500. I think what's going on is that just a ton of people have buy options put on 2,500 for Bitcoin. So, you know, as soon as it gets to 2,500, the bots start buying. So I don't think Bitcoin's going to go back under 2,500, maybe ever. I just don't see how it could. I mean, it's got very strong support at 2,500 right now. So that's good news. You know what I mean? It's good news, I suppose. All the other coins kind of seem to be staying right there, like very similar to where their price was. You know, just following along right with Bitcoin, it seems like. Ethereum's going up a little bit, I noticed, but Ethereum Classic went up quite a bit, I guess, but I guess it went down a bit and I didn't notice, so to me it looked like it stayed where it was. I wasn't really on it there. Yeah, I was talking about steemit with some people last night and checking it out, and I'm interested, who's actually making money on steemit? Like, you know, who's doing it for a living? Because I've read a few blog posts now and seen some stuff about people doing it. Must be allergic to this part of town. So I know there's people making money on steemit, and, you know, my account's, you know, worth $70 now, and I don't think because it takes 7 days for your posts that you've made to collect money. So that the one post that I made that got like, initially had like $450 on it, now it's down to like $290.